Hey guys, today I want to talk about the history of pads. I'm going to do a little mini series. I'm going to talk about pads, tampons, and cups. I was actually asked by one of you beautiful people to talk about the history of these things, and I thought, right, that's an amazing thing. I love learning about this sort of stuff, and I think it's interesting, and I want to provide it for anyone out there who is also interested. So I did some research, and this is what I found. So in the pre-disposable pad era, pads were actually made out of a range of things: rags, cotton, wool. They would knit pads, make pads out of rabbit fur and grass, and just that sort of stuff. As shocking as this is, you just have to realize the fact that there are still communities and villages out there that use methods like this because they don't have any other options. So it was actually nurses in France who came up with the first sort of thing that became a pad, if that makes sense. They would make bandages out of wood pulp to stop excessive bleeding on the battlefield. And then this idea was then taken and commercially created into disposable pads in, I believe, around 1888. But these wood pulp pads cost way too much for the regular woman, so they weren't that popular for a long time. But when they did become more affordable and women started using them, there was still this stigma, taboo around menstruation and products and communicating with other people. So what they did was really interesting. You would go to a local store, and so you didn't have to interact with someone. You would take your money and put it in a box and take the box of pads from the shelf or the counter or wherever it was by yourself, and so you didn't have to talk to a clerk or a man or anything like that. So these early disposable pads were made out of cotton or wool or a similar fabric, and they were attached to those notorious belts that we've heard our mothers talk about, or you've even used yourself. And it was, I think, in the 80s that the first adhesive strip was attached to a pad. Pads are still the most popular period product for women around the world, but unfortunately, they're still way too overpriced for a lot of women, especially in developing countries, or they just don't have access to them, as well as the fact that now the materials being used to make disposable pads really aren't good for women or the environment. So this gal named Andrea Donsky did a study where she compared an organic cotton pad and a standard pad, which I will not name, and she set them on fire to see some differences. The organic pad burned with very little smoke or residue, and then she lit the standard disposable pad on fire, and there was a lot of black smoke and thick residue, which pointed to the fact that there might be some not so great ingredients in that pad. She also found that the standard pad contains about the equivalent of 4 plastic bags. And so if plastic is something you're trying to cut out of your life, 4 plastic bags is like, yikes. Not to mention all the problems that come with the plastic and the dangers in that, as well as the fact that to get that bright white beautiful cotton look that people want when they're buying sanitary products, the companies have to bleach the fibers and the materials to give them that bright white glow. So I'm not here telling you to throw out your pads. I'm just giving you information so you can think about it and maybe find an alternative. If you want, you can look into disposable pads, you can look into organic pads, you can look into period panties, you can look into menstrual sponges or cups. There's a lot of options out there, and you're not just stuck to pads or tampons, both of which are disposable and not that great for the environment. But yes, that is what I have to say about pads today. I thought that was a fun little history lesson. I try to keep it concise and just include the interesting, important little bits. But yes, that's what I have to say. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave any comments or anything down below. Don't forget to subscribe for more menstrual magic videos like this. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Bye.